DBL is my chapbook with Knife Work book, and the DBL in the title is short for double, as in double dildo. There are only 2 dildos in the collection. They're both double, so I don't know if that makes it 4 or what. But even if you are not a fan of sex toys, there's stuff in here for you. The double also refers to the form of all of the poems in the chapbook. Hello?
Sorry.
That's okay. It also refers to the form of all the poems in the chapbook, which are double-headed sonnets. I want to start with the first poem in the chapbook, Fall of the Double-Headed Dildo. Blue street, mid-street. Dildo lies unburied by leaves, brochures, or wrappers' agitprop. When you consider light, a cattle prod seems preferable to panning commentary for glints of dirt, or strangling the canary in hopes that no one else observed that throbbing vein of silicone. Picture it, yachting the air, 4 cheeks to wind, a glistening, wary young middleman circumflexing atop the longish line of tool work and of toy play, careful washing, adding dry with 2-ply and storage, bearing this to belly flop on pavement. Having leapt from transport's couply trajectory, blue chain gang grafts 12 limply fraternal rubber balls into one thought. You'll all get shot. Each ball beside its rubbery compatriot's plastic views on highway robbery. If goddesses who fed their husbands' cocks to catfish know what this implies of married sex, I don't. Maybe it's the reason dropping dildos out car windows is such a craze. Though vehicles may vary, there's always something getting road dead, getting carried away, with leopard crawling toward the curb, erecting, jogging at us. Have you heard birds flap at mirrors, sighs but literary? One of my favorites from the collection, because it felt like the first time I had stumbled across a poem. You know when you encounter a poem in the wild that hasn't been written yet, but you're like, that's a poem. Thank you, world, for delivering that to me. And I tried, anytime my stupid brain comes up with something, I just Google it or search for it on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, okay, someone came up with that. Park and Rex, instead of the show Parks and Rec, Park and Tyrannosaurus Rex. I was like, oh, that is already something that someone came up with 7 or 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first one that I felt like I had actually discovered. The actor who was playing Hedorah, the smog monster in an original Godzilla production, had appendicitis, had an attack of appendicitis while in the Hedorah or Hedra costume. Maybe I've taken some liberties. Don't let the actual historical facts get in the way of a good poem. The appendectomy of Kenpachiro Satsuma. Even Hieronymus Bosch at Coachella couldn't have drafted this rubber-necked hydra swamping the sound stage. this ill-fated Tetra Pak village scuttled aside, its roach era briefly reprieved. Before Crew and Godzilla's abstract concern for humanity, Hedera writhes in contractions, delivers op-ed raw pain through the latex, where Ken's lips poach air, a thin aperture. Out of time to disumber the man from the suit, the studio medics maneuver a needle near enough buttocks, scalpel away at the obstinate tundra of vulcanite, hacking, lacking an index. Somewhere between his suit and appendix, Ken looks up from the abattoired zebra flesh of his two commingling stomachs, sees a wide plain beyond whose charred tussocks smolder walls and high towers. Not Gamora's by the look, but a place more vanilla. Still, it's something there is that deplores the city, stomps it. Ken tells a reporter, I was after informed that painkillers don't affect me. Observe how Godzilla the Smog Monster unboxes Pandora. Our hero electrocutes pompous Hedora, then claws the eggs out of that smug-faced killer. And what is thematic with my own time in isolation, in which I have probably the only time I've consumed this much beer was when I lived in Dublin for a year and put on like a healthy 15 pounds that I have now rediscovered. You know, as a tribute to that, I want to read a poem called Paddy Wagon Tours, which is the actual name of a bus tour company that I and my partner at the time went on the week before we left Ireland. We were like, yeah, we're going to do so much touring when we live here, we're going to travel around, blah, blah, blah. And then we were like, oh, we got to move back, and just did a bus tour. It's a great idea. At this particular cove, the Atlantic deploys its NATO-stamped heat-seeking missiles up your exhaust ports, like in through your groin. It swims those mad little Solomon fry up to your chest to claim tax on the coin of final fare found there. Berg your Titanic. Ice break your berg. Clean into and Shanghai 1/2 back out through your shriveled up whistle. So half of us back out. We others turn thigh deep in pretending surprise at the buoying surf's dead hand frisk and pretend our dismissal of camera clicks from the beach. What romantic thought. One day revisit, stick in a dry toe, get schizophrenic soul whole again. But what if the first time was stupid, antic luck? Why give the graduated abyss a second crack at whatever you remains? You've read too many Wikipedia at this point, surely to be fooled by feigned retreats, drawn crying war like some Germanic tourist out the tour bus portcullis, wide-eyed with obliged appetite for the vista. In Galway by supper, we liquefy across a bar because if all's the same at last, we'd rather stiff charisma suckle us into the necromantic. Ben, do you think I should do one more or two more?
I say two more.
Two more? Okay. They're all precisely the same length, so that is good for estimating. Because I don't want to keep you hanging, I will read the companion piece to The Fall of the Double-Headed Dildo, Rise of the Double-Headed Dildo, which comes after. So it's like very tricky temporally. Rise of the Double-Headed Dildo. Pink flare midair. Dildo arcs in signal, like hot pants might have summoned for extraction from winter's lily cheeks. But their protracted exposure weighed down aim. Projectile wriggled full tilt into a tree, where now a twig hold suspends it 10 feet over the untracked snowfall on Chelsea's green, I think. In fact, though, I can't find the promised cosmic sigil of grand reported being here, speech acting in driver's seat and activating foolproof four-ways. I'm standing in a stand of white spruce, puffing bitter wind like wishes redact air into air disrobing through a sunroof. Lone motion of a body in a phone booth. Dusk is the bear trap baited with a climax. Okay, a double climax. Artifact, self-excavating, whack-a-mole unwhacked. Celestial extremity retracting into undercarriage as if Cygnus had only stopped to refuel. Oily preface rewinding, fleshy corkscrew. There's an negative condensing on my mustache. There's a sickness of knowing even more pertinent enigmas than how a glumping, boneless thing found traction enough to tree climb, faith to be abstracted, a tea leaf given to the lukewarm bigness. I want the last poem I read. I am going to read from Floor Games, which is my second last chapbook. Last chapbook. It's my second most recent chapbook. I actually forgot the first thing. And it's the only other one that's still for sale. All of the other, here. My first 4 chapbooks are all available for free on my website, because otherwise no one will ever read them again, and that feels sad to me. So Floor Games is still for sale because there's an ebook version of it, but all the other chapbooks, thankfully, I guess, were with presses that don't do ebooks, so they're now all free. This one's called A Close View of the Temple, whose portals are guarded by grotesque plasticine monsters. Monsters won't be around for long. Ominous and happy animals that aren't up for it waft through, swearing voyage from the human. The review of monstrosity here ends. They have gone now. The Lord of Goats, tired of the importance of goats, small g goats, compared to big G goats, a long way from a translator, becomes the one final perversion. Vaguely goat, he wants to have sex with the conclusion or to subvert it. It's just as sexy as a sheep to a lonely goat. It's not worse to terrorize a sheep than care to admit it, is it? People like a victimless crime, a stand-up coma. It's time for humans, or it isn't. Adaptation is a sort of who's who of the whole, a form of melting enthusiastically performed, the story set in the organ donor, the knuckle and its attitude sunk into that narrative together, the unwritten contract between harvested and time. No thought of posterity ends in a lonely heart. Looks are guarded. Dozens of young corpses is something to deal with. Best to be a bit blue. Once you're dead, you've only got one problem, necrophilia. That taste for humping corpses into musicality.